Hello friends, this week we rolled out MCP Server Monitoring as generally available, and I thought I'd show you how easy it is to get it set up against an MCP server in your environment. So here we are in Sentry, but before we do anything here, we're going to drop down into Cursor and we're going to check out the MCP server I built. So this is an MCP server that really is just a basic to-do application. So it goes and creates to-dos, queries them, lets you update them, all that basic stuff. And so in this, we built this using the MCP handler from Next.js. So this lets us bolt on an MCP server to any API route. We've got this dynamic route for transport over here that lets us move between the different protocols. So if it's SSE or HTTP streamable, we can handle it differently. And then obviously we have the route here that sets it up. Inside here, we create our MCP server and we have a bunch of tools that are exposed. And so we jump into Cursor, we can go in and turn this on and we can see the different tools that are enabled here. So MCP Server Monitoring is going to let us monitor these and understand how they're performing and dig into traces, spans, and tool performance around all of them. So first things first, this is an Next.js based application. So we're going to drop into our terminal and we're going to go in and start to set up Next.js. So we'll go npx at Sentry wizard and use Next.js. And this is going to start that whole setup process. So the wizard is the best way to set this up on Next.js. It goes out and scaffolds out a bunch of different things inside of your project. I'm going to choose Sentry SaaS. I already have an account. And I'm going to come in and create a new project for me. So I'm going to come down here, create project, and we'll go MCP to do demo, and we'll choose my team. Now this is going to grab the DSN and feed it into our application so that we can set everything up. It's installing the Next.js package now. And then we'll go through and we'll set our options. We're going to say no to tunneling, but we are going to turn on tracing, replays, logs. We're not going to do the example page. We're not going to do CI/CD, and we're not going to turn on the MCP server. So we'll switch back into Cursor and we can see all those files have been created. Now to use MCP Server Monitoring, all we have to do is come into this route and see where we're creating the server here and bring in one more function. So we're going to import star as Sentry from Next.js, and then we're going to go Sentry.wrap MCP server with Sentry and feed in that server object. With this in place, we're good to go. We are now monitoring everything that goes through that MCP server. So this wraps that entire server object and gets us visibility into how those tools are performing. So now I can come up here and I can say something like create me 5 random to-dos and then update 2 of them with a done status. And what this is going to do is go out and call those individual tools using Cursor. First, it's going to create its own to-do inside of a to-do. And we're going to let this run, and it's going to go and make these calls. So each one of these calls is going in and interfacing with the database behind the scenes. So I've got a Neon database set up, and since we're instrumented with Sentry, we'll be able to see the communication flow all the way down, and we're going to be able to see the interactions as it goes and makes these changes. So now it's going in and making changes to each one of those and updating them. And now I'm going to say delete the other 3. And this is going to go in and delete the ones that were not updated recently. There it goes. We'll add that to the tools. Cool. So those are all deleted now. So now if we go pop back into Sentry, into AI, we'll choose the MCP tab. We'll find this new one that we just created. And we can see this coming through. We'll do a filter here just to make it easier, the last 5 minutes. And now we can see all those tool calls that are coming through. So I can see the requests that have hit. I can see what client. Now we see none here because this isn't a stateful MCP server. So we're not grabbing session ID. But in transport distribution, we can see these are all HTTP streamable. We can see the used tools, and we can even see the slowest tool calls. So which one of these are performing really slowly. If we scroll down, we can see all the individual calls and their performance. And if I click on these, we can start to dive into the traces and spans that back these up. So now when I come in here, I can see the full communication path all the way from the MCP tool call down to the database performance that's backing the changes that I'm making. So in this case, we had a to-do create that went in. There was parameters that went into that, but ultimately it translated down to a database call, and I can see that database performance also. So it becomes really easy to start optimizing how your application's performing across every tier of it. Now, in this case, it's just a simple MCP server that has a database backend. But if we had an API tier that the MCP server was interacting with, you start getting a lot more visibility into how everything's performing. And that's typically really hard with MCP tools since they're kind of a black box in how they function anyways. We're really excited for everyone to take MCP monitoring for a spin against your MCP servers. Try it out. Let us know how it's going and how we can make it better. Talk to you soon.